4th era year 58, 2nd seed, mid-das. I've spent a large portion of my life unraveling the mystery of the Nirnroot, and yet I still feel unfulfilled. The trilling sound this strange herb emits seems to taunt me, to push me even harder to discover its secrets. Even after a generous and indomitable traveler became a field collector in my stead, and provided me with 5 score of the Nirnroot, I was only able to muster what I consider a mediocre alchemical creation at best. This only served to strengthen my hunger and whet my appetite for the solution. It wasn't until over 50 years later that the answer to my prayers was carried into my basement workshop at the Westfield Inn. The first thing I heard was the familiar tone, that unmistakable warble unique to the Nirnroot. But when I turned around, my heart leapt and a chill ran down my spine. This was indeed a Nirnroot, but of a variety the likes of which I have never seen. The herb was awash in a spectacular array of red hues, each leaf seemingly emblazoned with innumerable variations of crimson. I couldn't move, I was completely transfixed. Never in my wildest dreams could I have imagined a species of Nirnroot with such a unique property. After an awkward silence, I finally managed to stammer out a few questions to the traveler who brought me this treasure. He told me his name was Obertharnesian, treasure seeker from Skyrim. Apparently, he'd been exploring a vast subterranean network of grand caverns called Blackreach and had stumbled across what he dismissed as a noisy red weed. His expedition was largely unsuccessful and he didn't want to leave the caves empty-handed, so Oberth picked one of the Crimson Nirnroot to bring home. He said that it took some time, but eventually he was pointed my way and that perhaps I'd pay a fair price for it. Before I could gather my wits and ask anything else, Oberth offered to sell me the Crimson Nirnroot sample, a map showing me how to find Blackreach and the strange key needed to breach its outer defenses. It took me mere moments to decide. Oberth left Skingrad 1,000 septims richer, but I would have easily paid 10 times that amount to obtain the sample alone. It took a year of planning, but I was able to pack up and sell my workshop and make my way into Skyrim. Before delving headfirst into Blackreach, I knew I needed to set up a new laboratory, but wished to do so in seclusion. After making inquiries at the College of Winterhold, of which I was an honorary member, I was directed to speak to a Bruiser Sariti, student of botanical alchemy who had a small farm near the city of Riften. By bartering my knowledge of Nirnroot cultivation, I was able to secure Sariti Farm as a launching point for my field research. I kept the knowledge of the Crimson Nirnroot a secret from Avruza, but imparted everything else I knew to her in exchange for her hospitality. A few months passed, but I was finally ready to enter Blackreach. I used the attunement sphere that Oberth had provided and descended into the depths. My goal was to gather enough Crimson Nirnroot to produce my greatest alchemical creation to date. I was certain it would take at least 30 of them to provide the necessary catalyst. This brings me to the present. My initial research seems to indicate that the Crimson Nirnroot has a similar affinity for moisture as the garden variety, but also maintains some sort of symbiotic relationship with the enormous fungi that inhabits Blackreach. It's my guess that the fungi itself is a source of water, absorbing it from the moist subterranean air like a sponge. This provides the ideal environment for the Nirnroot to grow. Unfortunately, the Crimson Nirnroot appears to have a vastly shortened lifespan, and they are in no way plentiful down here. Gathering 30 of them will be quite the challenge, but hopefully the denizens of Blackreach will allow me to gather my samples unhindered.
right behind you. No problem. How can I help? Let me know if you need anything. it's a nice lick on. Stunning. Simply stunning.
place is boring. Nothing but the same thing every day.
We could always use help picking crops if you need a few extra coins. I knew this day would eventually come. At least poor Sindirian died doing what he loved. His field research. I told the old fool he should take it easy, but he was too stubborn. Perhaps someday I'll continue where he left off. It's the least I can do, considering how much he did for me. You gathered quite a few of them, I see. I'll search through Sindirian's notes and find some more information about the Crimson Nirnroot and its properties. Thank you. You've done alchemy a great service by helping to complete Sindirian's work. I'd like to give you this tome. It's one of Sindirian's greatest works. I believe you've more than earned it. When I was very young, I was sent to Skingrad in Cyrodiil to study with him. He was a strange Altmer. Paid more attention to his research than his own well-being. He lived in the basement of an inn, for goodness sakes. Well, after I fled Morrowind during the eruption, I made my way here. My family had purchased this farm, and it's all we had left. Years later, Sindirian simply showed up at our doorstep asking to stay for a while. Said he was going to do field research. He stayed with us for decades. Became an uncle of sorts to Adori. One day he simply ran out to me in the field, excited that he'd made some sort of a breakthrough, and he was going to head out on another trip. He never returned. From the journal you discovered, I'm sure you know the rest. Is it that obvious? I've got my hands full here. Between the farm chores, cultivating my supply of Nirnroot, and keeping a tight rein on my sister Adori, there's little time for rest. Really? That would be a pleasant change. One of the ingredients I need to cultivate Nirnroot are Jazbay grapes. The acidic content of the juice is perfect for the soil. I need 20 of them for my current crop. Good luck finding those Jazbay grapes. They're very rare. We could always use help picking crops if you need a few extra coins. Fantastic! I was concerned I had asked for too many, but I'm glad to see you proved me wrong. Let me at least give you something for your efforts. Finding all of these couldn't have been easy. Or cheap. Always a pleasure.
The woodlands here remind me of home. Ah, Cyrodiil.